you want to write a book, but where do I start this book? So many ideas, or maybe no ideas. That's what we're going to talk about today, where you should start your book. First thing, before I talk about 3 methods for where to start your book that I know about, my method, and then where you should not start your book, I want to ask you a question. Have you made space for your writing? I talked about this a few episodes ago about starting a writing practice, about committing to it, about putting it on your calendar, making an appointment with yourself, and then showing up at the page and writing. So have you made space for your writing? Because a lot of times the question of, well, I don't know where to start is more of an excuse because we haven't actually made space in our schedule, in our life, in our mind for writing the book. Because hey, it's kind of scary to sit down and to really put ourselves out there because we're going to pour our entire heart and soul and mind into this book. So it's kind of scary. Now, once you say, yes, Sharon, I have made space for my writing, I have been showing up at the page, I've planned out a lot of stuff, but I don't know where to start. Okay, so first of all, do not start with backstory. That means, and it's fine, if you're first starting to just start writing about your character, maybe you'll write their dark moment story out. I've talked about this before, maybe not in detail, but I will talk about it in a future detail. And what's wounded them and why they have this lie and how their dad abandoned them. And so now they have trust issues or whatever. But that's not where you're going to start the story. That's about your character. And writing that will help you understand your character, get inside the head of your character, and definitely make for a better story. But that's not where you start. You don't start in the past. You don't start and then have a flashback. You don't do those things. That's not the right place to start your story. Okay, thanks for that. Now, where should I start? Well, like Julie Andrews saying in Sound of Music, start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. So that is one method, to start at the beginning. Now, what I mean here is right before everything changes. Now, a story is a journey for a character. A character is making a journey because something happens in their life that gives them a question, the story question. Will I take this job in New York City, which means giving up blah, 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 or will I stay right where I am because things are comfortable? Whatever your story question is, I don't know. I'm not writing your story. But the beginning is what happens right before that question pops up. Don't start when they woke up that morning. No. Start right before that is going to come up. That is usually called the inciting incident. And you have to give enough background so we care about your character. But again, not backstory. And it only takes a few sentences to hint to us why moving to New York might not be a good idea. I mean, after all, mom has her health's been deteriorating and she's the closest. There won't be anyone to take care of her if she moves clear across the country. Or whatever it is for your character. Okay. You can also, bada boom, start at the end. You have an idea for your character and you know where you want them to go. So you write, this is where they're going to end up. And you write that. You write the end of the story. And then you have to figure out how will the story go? And for some people, it's really easy for them to do that because they can have the ending, the vision of the end in mind. So they can then go back and go, okay, well, that all started here. And so now suddenly they know where it started. And then, okay, all the different things that happened before they finally got there. Okay? So that is another option. That's option 2. Or option 3, you can write from the middle. Now, that is actually the title of a book by James Scott Bell, and you have heard me talk about him before, how I love his book, Plot and Structure, and I have read Right from the Middle, but it didn't connect with me, but I have talked to authors for whom it does work. So now at the middle, something unique happens. Your character stops reacting and starts pursuing. So in the first half of the book, after they've, decided they're going to go on this quest to move to New York City, okay? But they're just kind of reacting. Oh, they couldn't find an apartment. Oh, they're just reacting to all these things get thrown at them. But at the middle of the story, something happens. They get a glimpse of what life might be like if they could just overcome whatever their obstacle is. Or they get a glimpse at what the villain is going to make of their world if they don't start fighting back. Okay, so there's two different ways, depending on your storyline, your plot arc, of what happens at the middle, okay? But there's a man in the mirror moment where the character either sees himself for as he truly is, or as he could be, or that he sees the villain's plan for real for the first time. And that makes him motivated to start striking back, to start working harder to reach the goal, whatever it is for your story problem, okay? So that's writing from the middle. So there are three options: start from the beginning, start from the end, or write from the middle. You're not going to start with backstory. But I did also promise you one other thing, and that was, what does Sharon do? Sharon has published more than a dozen novellas of between 25 to 40,000 words in length. And about 4 or 5 in, I realized that what worked for me was to write the beginning, where it started, right before everything started. And then to write the end. And this is where they're going. This is how it's going to end. And then to go back and start writing from the first scene to point 1, beat 1 in the story. And then from there, the next thing, until I got to the end. So that is how I have written my longer works. Currently, I'm working on a collection of short stories. So short stories are, you write the whole story and then you go back and you cut out the first whole bunch on a whole bunch of other extra stuff because it's all extraneous, and make it tighter so that it's really just a single short story with one problem. So where do I start this book? I've given you a few options, and I would love to hear from you. You could draw me an email. The email is in the comments below. Or, hey, just join up, Write Your Book Nook, and drop in there and say, hey, I watched the video, blah, blah, blah. This is how I start. This is where I'm going to start writing my book, or this is where I have started writing my book. Whatever. I would love to hear about it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my writing tip newsletter. So it comes out about twice a month, and it's really short and to the point, but I have a lot of offers in there sometimes for reduced price services or links to other things that you'll find interesting. It's always informative and maybe even a little fun. So now that you know how to start writing your story, it's time to write it, my friend.